underwater to work on an oil pipeline in Pointe Pitre. While they were still working, a sudden change in pressure resulted in pushing all 5 of them into a 30-inch wide and 1,200 feet long pipe with little hope of survival. 2 hours later, only one of these divers came, telling a horrible story of what happened to the remaining 4. Over the course of a few more days, bodies of the remaining 4 divers were taken out of the underwater pipeline. However, they were in such a horrible state that the families of victims required proper counseling after seeing them. The severity and horrifying nature of this incident soon raised a lot of questions like, what exactly happened? How did such expert divers get stuck? Did the company try to rescue them properly? How did the one diver survive? And finally, who was responsible for this incident? Come with me as we try looking for answers to some of these questions raised by the Paria diving disaster. The Paria Fuel Company. So before getting into the details of the incident, let me tell you something about this company. Now, the Paria Fuel Company is a company based in a small Caribbean country, Trinidad and Tobago, and is owned by the state-owned oil company called Trinidad Petroleum Holdings. Founded in 2018, this company generates a yearly revenue of $4.79 billion while importing refined petroleum products and redistributing it domestically. The company was doing just fine until the unfateful day of the 25th of February, which lies as a dark stain on the company's short history. The incident. The Paria Oil Company had actually some private contractors called LMCS, limited for some underwater maintenance of their pipelines in Pointe Pitre, a French-governed city in the Caribbean. On the 25th of February, 2022, 5 divers named Faisal Kurban, Kazim Ali Jr., Rishi Nagasar, Yusuf Henry, and Christopher Boudrum were sent to do the job at the number 36 Sea Line riser on berth number 6. For divers as experts and experienced as these 5, this was a normal day at work with absolutely nothing to worry about. The group was supposed to work on a part of the pipe which wasn't currently in use. Now this pipe was a U-shaped 30-inch pipe that connected the part where the oil would be taken out from the cargo, also known as berth 5, to the area where it would enter the oil refinery, also known as berth 6. The job of these divers was to separate this part of the pipe from the ocean so they could have a dry place to work and then fix the pipe. Now, the divers' tasks also included the removal of an inflatable plug from berth 6, which was inserted just 2 weeks ago to protect the oil contents in the pipe. The Gopro video retrieved from the camera of one of the workers showed that Karim Ali passed a wrench for opening this plug to the 4 workers who were in the water. After passing the wrench, Karim was seen taking off his diving equipment, as ideally there would be no water in the area for as long as they were working there. However, as soon as the valve was opened, a high-pressure tornado of water overtook the group, and within a matter of seconds, all 5 of the group members and their tools were pulled into the pipe they were working on. The GoPro video shows that after getting sucked into the pipe, they had a little air pocket inside to help them breathe. However, this air was partly the cause that had actually turned the coming water into a tornado and thus sucked them in. Last moments of the video show that all 5 of them were shouting at each other, hoping if any of them knew what to do next, and after a few minutes, everything went dark. How did this happen? There's no doubt that underwater maintenance is a pretty normal job at any oil refinery or the sites that involve unloading of oil tankers. So what exactly went wrong here? Now, the inflatable plug that the group was trying to remove was actually supposed to separate about 1,200 barrels of oil from the air and ocean water that surrounded it. Had this been the situation, the pressure would have been sufficient, providing the crew space to do their job without creating any sort of water tornado. However, the group had no idea that the pipe had an air column inside it, and the amount of oil in the pipe was much less than what was required to maintain the pressure. As soon as they deflated the plug, the high-pressure air outside the pipe rushed inside, and along with it, all 5 men, water, and their tools.
Tornado, everything just spinning and beating you up, and it happened so fast, you couldn't react. After that, all I remember, I didn't even remember actually getting pulled in the pipe. I just remember getting pulled through the pipe at unbelievable speed. I couldn't hold my breath no longer, man. True. And you're holding your breath for too long. After a while, your body, your lungs just fight. Yeah, waist close, you see a noise. Your body suffering to pull air. An unbelievable nightmare. Your eyes burning. Every time you try to open your eyes, burning. You're pitch black, you can't see nothing. Your throat burning. Your ears ringing. Your body sore. And at that point, I tell myself I was going to dead.
Trying to survive. After the group was pulled into that air pocket, they calmed themselves a bit and shouted at each other, making sure that all 5 of them were together.
I said right too. I tried to come up. Yeah. Right behind you. You're right behind me.
After a few minutes of talking, they were sure that they were stuck somewhere in the pipe, but the next and most difficult step was to try and calculate that to what extent they had gone in the pipe. Now, just to paint a picture of the incident, the pipe was about 1,200 meters long, and there were a lot of bulges and elevations inside the pipe, which created air pockets at different distances. The group had to decide in which direction they would move to get out, and after some thought, they decided to move forward towards berth 6. Because of the pressure of water, most of them had broken bones, disoriented organs, and the gooey oil in the pipe was getting into their noses and eyes. But the real problem was still waiting for the group. After moving for some time, the first in line of the group noticed that the water level was rising in the pipe, and his face was now just 6 inches away from the pipe's wall. He immediately knew that there's no way they could move forward like this, and the injured members of the group won't be able to make it out in any way. Christopher was leading the group with Karim just behind him, and Yusuf, Rishi, and Fizal followed the line. The last 3 members of the line were injured, and it was more difficult for them to move, so it was decided that Chris and Karim would hold their breaths and move forward to bring help, while they promised others that they would come back for them. The lone survivor. The 2 of them started moving forward, and after much hard work, they finally reached another air pocket. Their struggle finally bore fruit when they saw 2 of their oxygen tanks lying in the water there, and close to the air pocket was a riser that was there way out of this pipe. The 2 divers used some of this oxygen and continued to move forward, but soon Karim realized that it was impossible for him to go any farther due to his injuries. They decided that it would be better if Chris used up the remaining oxygen in the tank to go out and bring some help. Chris placed the oxygen tank in front of him and started to push himself forward in the 2.5-foot tube, and after remaining inside for more than 2 hours, he finally reached the top of oily water at berth 6. Soon after getting to the airy top, he started banging at the pipe to get someone's attention, and a few moments later, he was rescued by the ship's crew with the help of a long metal chain. No help sent. After getting rescued, the first thing that Chris did was exactly what he had promised Karim and others. He told the authorities that the others were still alive and waiting for help from them. He also said that all of the remaining members had some serious injuries, and they were breathing in an air pocket. After this, a team of divers was sent underwater to tap at different locations of the pipe to see if they could hear and respond from the inside. Now, according to most people, there was some clear tapping heard from inside, and that tapping went on for quite some time. Just for a minute, imagine that you are stuck in an underwater pipe with barely enough space to move. You are injured, the water around you is rising, and you know that in the matter of a few hours, there won't be enough air to breathe. At this point, those taps must have felt like a ray of hope, and like most of us all, 4 of them must have thought that help was just around the corner. However, the authorities above were of view that up to this point, there was no chance that any of the divers were still alive, and making a rescue attempt would endanger the lives of others, so they absolutely did nothing. From rescue to recovery. On February 27 Sunday, the Paria company gave an update at about 12:27 p.m. that efforts to rescue the remaining members of the team were still going on. This was followed by another update at 5 p.m., while finally a media briefing was announced at 7:30 p.m. During the briefing, chairman of the Paria company, Newman, George told press that at this point all 4 divers were presumed dead, and the rescue operation was now converted into a recovery one. According to Newman, the company had used crawlers and underwater cameras to access the situation. By the look of it, the chance of their survival was extremely low, and the risk of rescue was very high and couldn't be ignored. According to the terminal operating manager, Colin Piper, their team couldn't pinpoint exactly where they were stuck, so they couldn't go further than 120 feet in the 1,200 feet pipeline. Bodies are recovered. On February 28th, 2022 bodies of 3 divers were recovered. The oil company confirmed through a statement that 3 bodies have been recovered, while the search for the 4th one continues. Families of all divers were notified, and they were asked to identify the bodies, which at this point were completely disfigured and almost unrecognizable. After this news started to spread that the 4th body had actually been discovered, but it was in pieces, so the company, fearing more backlash, decided to keep the news. Some rumors also said that because of this incident, there was serious prohibition of filming anything on the company's site. On March 1st, the Paria company denied any claims of recovering the 4th body in pieces and issued a statement that they were trying their best to find and recover the body of Rishi Nagasar. Finally, on March 3rd, 2022, the body of Rishi Nagasar was recovered too. Who's responsible? The opposition and parents of all victims demanded an impartial inquiry of the incident, stating their concerns that if Christopher was adamant about the other 4 being alive, then why no attempts were made to rescue them? The Coast Guard's government and the oil company had different views, but the obvious facts can't be ignored. According to a relative of one of the stuck divers, the calls of distress started to be received by 2 p.m., but they were only contacted by 3 p.m. Similarly, he also claims that after the rescue of Christopher Boudreaux, authorities prevented them from doing any rescue work for hours. The claims of irresponsible behavior were further strengthened after the 2 conducted autopsies. According to the reports, the time of death varied, however. It was sure that all of the divers made it alive the next day, and some were even alive till Monday. Some of the rescue divers claimed that the tapping sounds from inside could be heard for 48 hours after the incident, blaming the authorities that they stopped the rescue operation very early on.
Because everything inside my open, I rescue. Everything inside you open, I rescue was going on. Nobody was making an attempt to rescue.
Conclusion. Following the incident and a poor rescue operation, an inquiry commission was formed in Trinidad and Tobago. All operators of the Paria company were suspended on March 4th, 2022, and during a hearing in front of the commission, videos and audios from the last moments of these divers were aired, showing us the truly horrifying and scary state that these 4 had to face before their death. The survivor, Christopher Bourdon, has been living since past year in severe fear and PTSD, stating that he fears even going close to water. Recalling this incident, he said, "I think it is difficult even going to the beach since this happened. My last daughter is begging me to go to the beach because it's a stone's throw away, but anytime I go there I would see births 5 and 6. My daughter is going on 4 this year. How can I properly play with her? How can I teach her to swim if I fray the water?"